Welcome to Pearced Off, the segment for the Skepticule Podcast with Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This week I'm going to talk about how there is tension between certain factions and sections of religious movements, which are on the one hand trying to retain a kind of purity of the religion, and on the other hand trying to appeal to as many people as possible. So, for example, or as a sort of parallel of what I talked about in a previous segment, where I compared Islam to Christianity and showed that they're very different by point of fact that Islam requires society to adapt to it, and it retains its purity and its core values and is relatively unchanged since its inception, whereas Christianity has adapted to society and has changed and morphed such that there are thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of different denominations of Christianity. So while it struggles perhaps to retain its purity, it can evolve and adapt and mold itself to whatever environment it needs to do so. And I would like to actually take that idea and look at individual religions this week, such that one can have the same sort of discussion with regards to, in this case, Christianity, whereby if you look at the Church of England, which has just voted unanimously to accept the idea or the reality of women bishops, and you look at the Mormon Church, which is slowly, possibly adapting to more egalitarian ideals with a sort of fledgling feminist movement taking place. And you look at these movements in Christianity which try to appeal to the larger ecumenical audience, but in that sense perhaps become a little diluted, and the hardcore of that religious sect is sort of displaced or overcome by a more populist appeal. So if you look at the Catholic Church, interestingly, over the last sort of decade or two, has actually had this tension within itself. So on the one hand, it's growing in the developing world. Take, for example, Africa, where the hard core of the support it garners is very much more conservative. So therefore, you've got ideas of homophobia or definite no to women participation in church matters. But on the other hand, the established Western Catholic churches are somewhat more liberalized and therefore are much more open to liberal ideas in its assimilation with Western culture and Western society. So the Catholicism has that debate within itself. And I suppose the question I want to ask is, is it in the best interests of a religion, just like I asked with Islam against Christianity, but take Christianity on its own, is it in the best interests of a particular movement of Christianity to dilute itself to appeal to the masses and therefore have a more populist appeal? Or is it better for that religion to remain sort of conservative at its core and therefore hold on to its more purist values, and maybe have a smaller appeal, less of a following, but a more intense and naturally conservative, but a powerful core at the center of that sect or religious movement? So I'd just be interested to see what the panel think about these different approaches to religious movements and their longevity, and which one they think would be more successful, the kind of adaptability of the liberal approach or the staunch sort of conservative rock at the center of the more purist approach. So anyway, as ever, question everything, just a short one this week, and please drop by my blog